Now in this section, we're going to cover the common security vulnerabilities. First one is going to be the OWASP top 10. So what is OWASP? So it stands for the Open Web Application Security Project, and this is a nonprofit foundation that works to improve the security of software, and its mission is to make software security visible so that individuals and organizations can make informed decisions about true software security risks. One of the most well-known projects by OWASP is the OWASP Top 10, a regular updated report outlining the most critical security concerns for web applications. Now, the purpose for this is it aims to raise awareness about the most common and dangerous threats to web applications. It serves as a guide for developers, security professionals, and organizations to understand and mitigate these risks effectively. This diagram right here shows you how the vulnerabilities or the risks change over the years and how they stay updated. Now, the first one up is going to be broken access control. So what is it? Poorly implemented restrictions on what authenticated users are allowed to do. Now, an example would be where a user manipulates the URL to access and edit another user's profile without proper authorization. Now, the second one is going to be cryptographic failures. What is it? Inadequate protection of sensitive data, especially when it's stored or transmitted. So an example would be an attacker that intercepts unencrypted sensitive data transmitted over the internet. Now you'll see something like this in the Wireshark section. Third one is going to be injection. So this is malicious data from an attacker that tricks the application into executing unintended commands. Now an example would be where a user inputs malicious SQL code into a website search box, tricking the database into revealing all the user emails. Next one is going to be insecure design. These are flaws in software design that lead to vulnerabilities. An example would be an application without rate limiting, allowing an attacker to submit unlimited login attempts, leading to a successful brute force attack. Next is security misconfiguration. This is incorrectly configured permissions and settings in applications and related infrastructure. An example would be where an attacker finds and exploits default login credentials left unchanged on a server. Next is going to be vulnerable and outdated components. Using components such as libraries or frameworks with known vulnerabilities is the main key here. Now, an example attack would be an application is compromised through a known vulnerability in an outdated web server it's running on. So, for example, it would be the eternal blue vulnerability that gets exploited in the exploitation phase. Now, identification and authentication failures. This is weaknesses in user identity verification processes. An example attack would be where attackers use a list of previously breached usernames and passwords to gain unauthorized access to user accounts. This is also known as credential stuffing. Next is going to be software and data integrity failures. Now, what it is inadequate protection of software and data against unauthorized modifications. An example would be where a hacker modifies a software package before it's installed, inserting malicious code. Now, the ninth one is going to be security logging and monitoring failures. This is when insufficient tracking and monitoring of potential security events leads to delayed or missed detection of breaches. An example would be due to inadequate logging, an ongoing data breach remains undetected for months. Lastly, server-side request forgery. Now, this is an exploitation of the server to send unauthorized requests to internal systems. An example would be where an attacker tricks the server into making a request to an internal service, exposing sensitive information. Now, understanding and addressing these risks is crucial to securing web applications. The OWASP Top 10 serves as a starting point for developers and security professionals to prioritize and mitigate the most critical threats effectively.